Welcome, everybody, to another episode of There's Something Here. I'm joined, of course, by my dear friend, the mighty Rib Kevin Shalin, and our intrepid producer in the back, Ben Klein. Today, we're going to talk about places. Every time we go somewhere, we're going to a place. We're going to a city, but we're going to a place. And today, we're going to talk about how you make that place, placemaking. And we're going to start today, and we're going to do this a little bit more often, I think, Kevin. We're going to talk about farmers markets. And one in particular that's coming to Little Rock that we're very excited about. And as Little Rock residents, we are even more excited about. And so we're going to talk about that today on There's Something Here because, there's something here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Kevin?
Back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle. Here
Yep.
we go.
Ooh.
Here we go. Ben's already having to keep us in line.
Yeah.
Which I don't. Obviously, that's how it works around here. But
Yeah.
Ben, thank you, Ben, for always making time to
Of course,
to join
I'm
us.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about our town, our hometown. And we've talked about Little Rock before, and Little Rock is so big and so unique and so diverse that it's exciting to sort of see new angles of it. And last time we were talking about Little Rock, we talked about South Main, which is an up-and-coming area, been that way for about 10 or 15 years. And this week we talked to I consider to be one of the forerunners of making Soma a cool place, who has now expanded his brand, The Root, over to West Little Rock, to my old neck of the woods, and a place in Little Rock that is near and dear to my heart, Breckenridge Village.
Yeah, we're talking about Jack Sundell, who is the co-owner with Corey, his wife Corey, of The Root, and they've opened a second location last year. I think they already had their 1-year anniversary recently in the Breckenridge Village, like so many other restaurants that have popped up in that. It's an entertainment district. I think technically it is labeled as an entertainment district. So, it's a place where I kind of consider that Midtown now. It's in the middle of Little Rock. And so there's lots of exciting things going on. And the thing that we talked about with Jack was the upcoming West Little Rock Farmers Market at Breckenridge Village.
Well, one thing to get out of the way in the first part is that folks that come to Little Rock obviously have concerns about the traffic and parking. That's not a problem in Breckenridge Village. For one, it's right off Interstate 430. You can see it from the interstate, both sides of the interstate, and you can just take the Rodney Parham exit, and there's plenty of parking in the Breckenridge Village shopping center. So it's easy to get to, it's easy to see, it's easy to get out of. Parking is fantastic. So again, for all of you that come to Little Rock and think the traffic is bad, when sometimes it is, and the parking is tough, sometimes it is, this is not an issue in Breckenridge Village, so we're very excited about this. But Kevin, I want to start with this project of the farmers market being run by The Root. Start with The Root and where it started, because it really started where we started our podcast, at least here in Little Rock.
Yeah, it started out in Soma, and I have a tie to it too, because it opened about 6 months before my family arrived in Little Rock. So I felt like it was one of those first restaurants that had just gotten somewhat established. It was new. It was there was a lot of excitement around it, and more than anything, back at that time when farm to table was such a massive concept, and so many restaurants were saying they were farm to table or claiming it, and they truly weren't. But Root from day one was a true farm to table restaurant, and I would make the claim that it's probably one of our only true farm to tables to this day. So it was exciting for me to kind of grow with that restaurant, and they've had the evolution of that first location, where they ended up getting a massive grant where they doubled the size of the kitchen. They expanded the entire restaurant. They went from a breakfast and lunch only place to dinner. So there's always been a lot of change. And then in the last couple of years, the second location in Breckenridge Village is very exciting. It took a while to get going because of all the tornado, the construction associated with that. But here we are, 1 year. It's been open and it's been very successful. And now the new challenge of opening a farmers market, and I'm really excited for Jack and Corey.
So I want to talk about the tornado too, because I think that really goes into making the place, and the people make the place too, and to have him be part of Little Rock and the scene, not just of being part of a city, but bringing something kind of new. Not really, farm to table is not new, but bringing it in such a way that it has been successful is really exciting. But Ben, I'm curious for you. Have you been to the Root, the old one?
So yeah, I went to the old one a while, and I had this whole thought where y'all were talking is because that Breckenridge Village over there's got a lot of places that opened. You've got the Route over there, Flyway, and I'm kind of loyal to the original location, so I hadn't been into the new Route yet. I always liked the one on South Main, but I did recently try the new Flyway location, and it is awesome in there as well. But it was hard for me as like a local. I was like, I like my original spots, but once I got out there, I was like, oh my gosh, I get what the hype is about. It's such a cool area and such a cool glow up for that part of Little Rock. I mean, when a place gets hit by a tornado like that, you don't see such a rise from that like you have for Breckenridge Village.
When we were talking to Jack last week, and I admitted to him right to his face, I was apprehensive when I heard that you were opening a second location in Breckenridge Village. I didn't know if it would translate. I feel like they are such a fixture in the Soma neighborhood, and their whole vibe just screams Soma. And I didn't know from a customer standpoint, would that translate to Midtown / West Little Rock? And it has. And a big part of that, as he was telling us, is his wife, Corey. I mean, she's the one, I didn't know this, that was really front and center as far as the design of the new or the second location. And I think they've kept their brand, but, it's a much bigger space. They've got a baker on site. And again, it has the vibe of the original Route, but it's been updated a little more. And to me, it's a little more accessible and comfortable. So I really give them a lot of kudos for achieving that, because that's not easy.
And before we get to the farmers market, which I promise we'll get there, Breckenridge Village is so interesting to me because of the tornado, because I lived within stone's throw of that place for 10 years. So it's very near and dear to my heart. Rodney Parham area of Little Rock is very just real in a sense. And that's not to say that Cantrell or Chenal or anywhere else in Little Rock is not real. They are as well. But Rodney Parham just has this feel of it's where anybody from Little Rock can come to Rodney Parham and just be a person. And it's just easy going there, and there's plenty to do. And to see Breckenridge Village come to where it's coming is really exciting, because there's not just the Route. There's Waldo's, there's the DeLucas, which is fantastic as well. There's Mount Fuji, which has been there forever. Eat My Catfish has been there forever. The new Flyway is there. Film Alley is there, where they have, you can play a little bit of games while you wait for your movie and get some food. And not to mention the Wonder Place. If you have young kids that you want to take your 4-year-old to the Wonder Place on a random Tuesday. So not to mention the Scoops now. It's
and the comedy club, Looney Bin.
The Looney Bin's been there forever.
Yeah, it's a true entertainment district.
It really, really is, and it's really neat to see that part of Little Rock grow, especially after the tornado, which devastated the neighborhoods on either side of Breckenridge Village. I remember going there the night of and just being so saddened to see how much the devastation was, and to now see it regrow. It's a rebirth that I really love.
And to your point about Rodney Parham, I put this question out on the blog a couple weeks ago. What is our best food street in Little Rock? And to me, my answer and several others was Rodney Parham, because it extends its major artery through the city. And when you think about all the restaurants that have that address and that street in their address, it's a lot, and it's diverse. And I to your point, I just really love the vibe on that street. And I'm really happy to see a great mix of old and new, and I think they're accomplishing that.
So, Ben, your kids go to PA, is that right?
No, they go to Pulaski Heights Elementary.
Pulaski Heights,
yeah.
Okay. Well, PA's down the street. Pulaski Academy is down the street, and so a lot of people know that area because of PA. But you've been to Rodney Parham. I mean, obviously you have. You grew up here.
Yeah, I grew up kind of over there off of Colonel Glenn, like southwest Little Rock.
Okay.
But what I was going to say about Rodney Parham was I think it's because it crosses 430 and it is so long. It crosses so many different neighborhoods, and it picks up a little bit of kind of flavor from each one as it goes through it. And that's what's really cool about it. Yeah.
Flavor, yeah. But he also said glow up. The Flyway and the Route is a glow.
Okay, he brought his A game. All right,
ready.
We get it.
I've been training for this, guys.
Yeah.
We should do this more often.
He was doing push-ups last night.
It was great. Yeah. But he's right. The flavor of Rodney Parham is it's so amazing. Now, farmers markets. Obviously, a big fan of farmers markets. I have family that lived out in California, and they would have these yearly farmers markets every Saturday and Friday. Well, yearly. I say yearly. Well, it's California. It's always nice weather in Southern California. And I remember just loving to be able to go to different vendors and to have the same vendors be there to know I can get my cabbage here or get my bread here, or whatever it is. When you think of this is for both of y'all, when you think of a farmer's market in Little Rock that you would go to somewhat regularly, What are you looking for in a farmer's market?
For me, I'm looking for the total experience. It's not just the produce. I want a little of everything. I want there to be artisan makers, jewelry makers, candles, cottage bakers that are they're making like sourdough and different pastries. I think that's very important. I think it needs to be very well rounded. People, yes, they want to go up there and buy their local produce, but they also want to buy meat, beef and pork and chicken and things like that. So you want to have at least one or two local farms that are selling that. So to me, it's got to be very well rounded. And I think that's what this is going to accomplish. What about you, Ben? What are you looking for in a good farmer's market?
I need to be able to go up there, and especially back when I went to farmers markets a lot, I had younger kids, but it had to be entertaining for everybody. And it had to burn a couple hours with the kids, so it needed to have that roundedness. And also, I needed more than just produce too, because obviously I'm going up there for entertainment, but the way that we shop in our families, we kind of have a very set plan what we're going to make that week. So being able to go up there and see, I'm not sure what we're going to make, or depending on the flavor, that's not really how we do things. So it's interesting to see how, when you have all those different things there, you can still go. And if you don't get produce, there's other stuff to keep you there.
So this is not a shout out to my wife, although she's amazing. But she works on out in Chenal. They do something not all the time, but once or twice a year. And to your point, there's always it's a farmer's market aspect to it. But they also try to do what they can to have, Easter time, it's Easter egg hunts. Christmas time, Santa's there to take pictures with. So to your point, there has to be something fun to do there. I'm like you two. I need the whole experience to be there. But at the same time, actually, before we dive any deeper into this, can you give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of what this farmer's market's going to be? Like, when, how, all that?
It's going to be in the parking lot of Breckenridge Village, and I think it's going to be kind of closer to the film alley. So if you're familiar with that, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And so there's going to be a portion of the parking lot. And the good thing is, because it's going to be on Saturday mornings into the afternoon, early afternoon, I think like maybe 8 till noon type thing, there's going to be plenty of parking. There's already a lot of parking there, but if you're anything like me and you drive by that facility on a Friday night, it's getting packed now. But you don't have to deal with that. So there's going to be a numerous amount of vendors. Let's say 30 to 40, I'm guessing. And you're going to have the ones that are going to be there every time, and then you're going to have some that are kind of coming and going, and I think that's important. But I imagine they're going to reach out to the restaurants that are in the Breckenridge Village already, and they're going to be able to come out and have booths and whatnot, so things like that. So again, I think they're still trying to figure it out. It's coming in April, I believe. Let's hope that I attended a fundraiser a couple weeks ago, and it was the energy and the support. I spoke a few minutes. It was really uplifting to see how our community is embracing that. I think this is a unique opportunity. I think we need something big like this, something we can really hang our hat on and be proud of in a farmer's market. We have that in Northwest Arkansas, in Bentonville and Fayetteville on the square. This is what I'm kind of envisioning. Not a square setting, but all in a big area where people can see it. It's well exposed, and it's accessible for our entire area here.
Right. So, like I said, my wife helps with the Chenal market, does a lot with that. And to make it an experience like we're talking about is really exciting. And as someone who, again, for 10 years, had all 3 of my kids in Breckenridge Village or in that area. Actually, we lived in Walnut Valley, but stone's throw from there. And I look at this as back to placemaking and a community atmosphere for that area that I think has a great identity, but also has so many different identities as part of it. There's so many different flavors. Going back to what Ben said.
Yes.
So many flavors you can meld together into this, and that's what is really exciting to me, to be able to make a place. Not just listen. If you want to come from Sheridan, please do. If you want to come from Cabot, please do. Conway, North Little Rock, please do. But I'm excited for this. It's Old West Little Rock, but it's new Midtown area, and that's really cool to me.
Yeah, I think a big part of this success is drawing from crowds all around the area. If you're living in Sheridan or Pine Bluff or Conway even, and you get up on a Saturday morning I'm going to drive into Little Rock and make a day of it. Spend a few hours at the farmer's market. Maybe after it's done, go to Flyway Brewing, go to Mount Fuji. I mean, you can really spend some quality time there. And I think that is going to be important moving forward. And the whole part of this equation that Jack told us that is the most important as far as the long-term success of this market is a good, I forget what he called it, basically a market manager.
Yeah.
And I could not agree with him more because, again, we look at these things and you need to really look at it long-term. This needs to be successful for many, many years. And the only way to do that is through consistency and having someone oversee it and to make sure that everyone involved is having a good experience.
So, Ben, I think you're the better person to answer this question as a native of Little Rock, because I've only been here for 25 years, which is a significant time, but I'm from Conway. So to me, placemaking and community is about Conway. As a Little Rock native, when you look at a city of this size of 200,000 people, when you're thinking about a region or an area or district, for lack of a better term, what are you looking for to make a place inside of a place that is so big like Little Rock?
I mean, I think you got to have that individuality like you're talking about, and some of the things that I think will be such draws for folks that are coming from the surrounding areas, from surrounding communities. Like, I think coming to Little Rock can kind of feel like an imposition if you're in Conway. It's like a lot. Like, I go here, I got to find a parking spot, I got to figure out, especially if you don't know the area very well. I don't know where I'm at. This has such a potential to be like, hey, I can go here. There's going to be a place to park. I can go enjoy this farmer's market, and then I've got at least 5 or 6 different options to do after that, and I haven't moved at all.
Yeah.
And so it's, I think a lot of Arkansas is very transient. You got to drive everywhere. We don't have a mass transit system. Nobody does. But being able to go to a single place and have that walkability, I think it goes back to why people love college campuses so much. There's some articles that came out like, oh, people love going to college. It's because they just live in a walkable community, right? And you could kind of create a little bit of that here. So that's what's really exciting about that potential. But in a long-winded way to answer your question, I think that's what you're kind of looking for. You want to be able to walk and to have that sense of community. And I think you got real potential here for it.
So I'll tell you, as a native of Conway who came to the malls here growing up, it is easier to get to than Park Plaza. It is as easy to get to as McCain Mall. And I think it's a decent for someone who lived in the suburb or the surrounding areas. That's a pretty good metric. It is as easy as McCain Mall, and it is easier than getting to Park Plaza because it's just so close to interstate. You basically go down I-40 and you take a right onto 430 and you're there. Or if you're coming from Benton, you come down 30 and you take a left on 430 and you're there. So I'm excited for this for Little Rock as a whole. Now sorry, go ahead.
No, I think about it. So many people get very excited when a restaurant opens. When I break that news, this restaurant's coming and that restaurant's coming, and that's great. But to me, this announcement, it's what I spoke to the crowd the other day at the Roots event, is like, this is every bit, if not more important than a particular restaurant opening. The success for our food scene / food community, this is a massive deal. We need this to be successful for so many reasons, because we're not talking about just one business and one set of employees. We're talking about countless lives that can be affected. Ranchers, farmers, businesses around the area within Breckenridge. You talk about building a community, Ben. It's not just in Breckenridge. Imagine if you live in Valonia and you come into town and you have a great time at the farmer's market, and then you're like, we're 5 minutes from Professor Bowl. Let's go bowl with the kids. There's donut holes at that Kate's place right across the freeway there. I mean, there's so many things that you can do that are within like 5 or 10 minutes, and the key is bringing folks from out of town to come visit, to patronize these places, and also the people within your community. And I think that's what this is going to do, which really outweighs any individual restaurant that can open, in my opinion.
I smirked when you said donut holes, because you talk about Kate's and those donut holes all the time.
I like them. I know you're a Mark's guy. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm not saying it's Mark's, but I really like Kate's. And it's a little easier, and you don't have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get them.
Well, I got one last question before we get out of here, but I do want to make one point. I have an 8-year-old who loves McDonald's. And, when we list off these businesses, DeLuca's and The Root and Eat My Catfish and Mount Fuji, you may say, well, there's not a lot for my 8-year-old, or, there's a McDonald's right there on the corner as well. So it is a full service area. And that's the great thing about Rodney Parham.
Yeah.
If you need it, it is on Rodney Parham.
Absolutely.
My last question to you two is about you mentioned the longevity of it, and that's going to be super important. And we all want an event, but I'll start this one. I want an event. I want to have an experience, yes, but I also want to know that I can go somewhere on a random Saturday in May because I'm out of lettuce or I'm out of carrots because I love carrots, and I can go to this farmer's market and get that. Is that something that's necessary to have a farmer's market be successful from April to October, which I think is the plan?
Yes, absolutely. You need those established farmers that are going to be there each and every week, and I know that farm. They make great X or Y, great lettuce, or this is where I like to get your carrots in your case. John's a big carrot guy, for whatever reason. You're going to know it's strawberry season. I don't mean to put words in their mouth, but Holland Bottom Farms is going to be there with, crates of strawberries. Yes, there needs to be that consistency, but there also needs to be interchangeable parts as far as different vendors. So, but yes, you want that established consistency with certain vendors where you know exactly what you're going to get. I want to cook this today. I know that's going to be there. Yeah, it's important.
Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I don't want to be flying blind when I'm going into the farmer's market. I want to have set things that I can expect to be there for sure. And I think one of the things that I was thinking about long-term success too is, a lot of these established markets, they'll have all the logistics of it figured out. Like cities will go in and they'll do bond issues on that. We're going to fix up our downtown, but we're also going to be thinking about how they're going to do their farmers market, having power supply to the right places, maybe having some built-in shade or things like that. And I imagine that obviously you're not going to be able to do that before like an April launch, but maybe if we can get the ball rolling and kind of build that culture around it first, as it grows down the line, it's really exciting to see what that could turn into. Could there be more infrastructure built out there to really support that long term? So I think it'll be awesome. If you can zoom out 10 years in the future and be like, I remember where they started. We were talking about it, but look at where they are now. Right. They've got, maybe more sidewalks out there, dedicated power, things that really make it feel like an established place and not just like a pop-up deal.
Right.
So that'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, and I'm excited for the other cities who are interested in farmers markets to learn from what Little Rock's done, and not the scale perhaps, but to your point about what infrastructure do you need out there? Do you need how much sunshade do you need? How many parking spots do you need? Are these lessons that we can take across the state and help people understand, or just not that we're going to do it, but have people understand this is how a farmers market works, and to have it in our own city, I'm really very excited about. And everything that Little Rock does could be a lesson for somebody else. And everything some other city does can be a lesson for Little Rock. So I'm excited to watch this grow, and much like I'm excited to hear what's going on in Northwest Arkansas, because they're doing so many cool things, and people across the state are doing so many cool things, which I think is part of the reason that we have the show. There's something here.
Yeah, and it was nice to focus on our backyard this time.
Yeah,
I really like that. Yeah, I know that we shoot this in North Little Rock, but North Little Rock, to me, it's pretty much the same. I'm not being from here. I love both cities, and I love crossing the river and supporting North Little Rock. So it's just as much as I do things going on in Little Rock. So, great show today. I thought Ben kind of carried us today.
Really
Where did that come from?
He really did.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm just trying my best out here. Oh,
By the way, for my Dogtown listeners, Kevin won't be invited back because he doesn't know the difference between Little Rock and North Little Rock.
Uh-oh.
But I see his point. No, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Ben. And for everybody listening, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And we promise you every time we're going to meet and talk to you, there's going to be something here. So thank you. Take care. God bless. See you soon.